lessons of the past will learn the workers' blind.
Hello everyone, welcome to the April 4th Coalition Show. This is our November 10th, 2025 show. The April 4th Coalition's mission statement is we are for workers' rights and collective bargaining rights and are against tax breaks for the rich and corporations who ship our jobs overseas. We endorse all the articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I'm lucky to have with me Holly Pelzinski, and also Curtis DeRocher is also a guest, our special guest for our Veterans Day show. But we endorse all the articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but as is our custom, we focus on Article 23. And number one is, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment.
And number two, everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number three, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself and herself and his family and her family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection.
And lastly, number four, everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of his or her interests.
Well, thank you for joining us. And on our last week's show, we focused on veterans, and we had a guest. We had special guest Chuck Roberts with us. And this week, we have a special guest, Curtis DeRocher, who not only is a 20-year veteran of the U.S. Army, but he also serves as, let me see this.
He's also the Veteran Services Director.
Yes.
And so we're so pleased to have him here. And I'm sure a lot of veterans who are watching probably recognize him.
How long have you been on the job now?
It's 9 months.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank
We're
you.
lucky. The veterans of North Berkshire are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
So are you liking the new job, and how has it been for you so far?
I love it. We're currently preparing for a lot of projects next year. Obviously, we still have the Veterans Day Parade that's going to go on tomorrow. That's going to kick off at 10:40 from the American Legion, and then we'll walk to the Memorial Park, and then also December 13th we have a Christmas breakfast that'll take place at the North Adams American Legion, which is free for all veterans.
That's wonderful. And all of the proceeds to that, does that go to Veteran Services? Where does that go?
Proceeds from
the breakfast? Yeah.
So it's put on by an individual local to the area, Chris Bonavere.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then also the Sheriff's Department comes out and helps serve. And so there really are no proceeds from it. It's more of just a get-together and something that the department's been doing for a few years now.
That's great.
And this is just for veterans. It's not like a breakfast fundraiser or anything.
Gotcha.
This is just a breakfast for veterans.
So when we say veterans, we always mean widows of veterans as well. But the veterans they're able to bring one guest with them regardless of relationship, really. But it's very much stress the veterans and widows of veterans.
And how about Gold Star mothers and fathers?
Yeah, absolutely. Gold Star families in general, we have over 600 in Berkshire County, so there's quite a few families. So yeah, they're more than welcome to join us as well.
That's great. That's great. Now, did you want to ask a question about his earlier?
Well, just tell us about your time in the military, and I read in one of the articles that when you started, it was right at the time when the trade towers came down, so there was quite momentum. I think I would feel like you coming into that. You went in when it was a quiet time in our country.
Yeah,
how everything has changed.
I joined technically I joined in April of 2001. I didn't end up shipping until mid-August, and then my first day of basic training was on September 11th, the day the towers fell. Wow. And so I think it was instilled upon us all at that point in time. We hadn't been in a big war since Vietnam. We had some obviously Desert Storm, which was quick, but they made sure that we understood real quick that we were now in a war. And then, yeah, I stuck it out for 20 years. And
Yeah. Now, was that, go ahead, sorry.
I just want, how did you find out about the towers, the attack on the towers?
So we were getting a brief from the commander and the first sergeant of the company, kind of like an introduction to basic training and what we should expect. And then they kind of stopped and started gathering together. And then they made the announcement that if anybody had any family members that were from or lived in or worked in the New York City area, that they were to basically go out of the room, and they kind of got briefed on what was going on. They were able to make a call home to those family members to ensure that nothing had happened to them. I don't think, but I don't truly remember if we had anybody that lost someone. I don't believe we did, but we very well could have.
Yeah, in Williamstown, there was a family that lost a son, I believe. I can't remember the name right now, but he was on the plane, one of the planes that went into the tower.
Yeah. I was in high school. I was really, I was, I think, a freshman or sophomore. So you were 19 when you joined.
Yep.
Yeah. Going and you've served in Afghanistan.
Yep, I went to Afghanistan 3 times and Iraq twice.
And you've also won medals. You have a Purple Heart.
I do.
You have, and how do you, to layman people, how do you get a Purple Heart?
You get wounded, so it's not something you want.
No, I'm sure it's not anything you want.
Now, in 2003, on September 12th, we were on patrol, and my vehicle got blown up by an IED, which was a 155 artillery shell. And so I had my eardrums blown out, my nose messed up pretty good, I got knocked out. So I got medevaced out and flown home, well actually first to Germany, treated, and then flown to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where I was stationed.
Did you have a head injury, so concussion?
Yeah, but back then that wasn't really well documented, I guess, or well looked after, so I 100% did.
Because that became the signature
Yes,
injury
correct.
in that.
But back then it was in the infant stages of everything, so it was more the external wounds that everybody was trying to make sure was treated, and not so much the internal issues that later on became the bigger problem.
Right. So you were going back and forth, so in between deployments, where were you stationed?
So I started off in Fort Bragg, North Carolina at the 82nd. Then I went to Missouri for some recruiting duty. Then I went to Kansas for the first ID. Then I went to Fort Benning. I was an airborne instructor for 4 years, so
You jumped out of airplanes?
I jumped out of them and then taught people how to jump out of them.
Now, did you have any fear of heights before you started doing it?
I'm deadly afraid of heights, actually.
So
how
how
did you-
Yeah, how do you do that?
You just make
That's-
yourself go.
Oh my gosh.
So, it honestly is all it really was just put one foot in front of the other and out the door you go.
And was that just the job you were given and you're like, okay?
Yeah, that's what I signed up for.
Oh, okay. Why would you sign up if you're afraid of heights?
Because I was 19 and didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, okay.
Kind of the same reason
I
you
would
sign up
be
for
like,
the military, I think.
I'll choose a different job. I'd be in the military, but
and then after that I went to Fort Drum with the 10th Mountain, and then I finished my last year in Virginia with TRADOC, doing desk work to prepare myself to get back into the civilian world where things are much different.
Was it a hard transition?
No, not for me. I was ready. As you know, my family was already here, and so I was traveling back and forth kind of every weekend when I was at Fort Drum, and then every 4-day when I was down in Virginia. And so it got to the point where missing basketball games and birthdays and other special events just got old, and I had made the rank I wanted to make, and it was time for me to turn my priorities to my family rather than my career.
Yeah, and he does amazing work. You mentioned basketball. You're also on the board of directors of the Northern Berkshire Youth Basketball League, and you serve as treasurer?
Yep, so that's fun. Getting sponsorships and getting the Armory looking amazing with a lot of help from the rest of the board and the volunteers. But yeah, we do a lot of good things over there, so it's fun.
And it definitely looks great there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does. Mark Moulton coordinated the floor this year, and the company that he got they did a really amazing job. So
with Veterans Day being tomorrow, do you have a message to veterans that you would like to put out the day before? Just, how to deal with Veterans Day? Because I know a lot of focus goes on veterans, but sometimes emotionally it brings up things that sometimes people don't want to remember.
right. So first of all, today is the 250th birthday of the United States Marine Corps, so that's a big day for them is today. But with Veterans Day, I think the biggest message that I have is everybody is a veteran. And I think what got lost throughout the years were National Guardsmen who didn't feel like they were veterans because they were essentially put to the side. A lot of the Vietnam veterans coming home from that war were not treated well. And so a lot of them, and I've heard this firsthand, is they've almost kind of wanted to forget about their service and never even mentioned. There's a lot of people that I've met who didn't even tell people they were a veteran until within the past decade just because of the way they were treated when they returned home. The National Guardsmen who didn't necessarily choose to not go to war or active duty, they just, that's what they wanted to serve. They are veterans though. And so I think tomorrow is a celebration of everybody. Regardless of their branch, their types of service, and where they came from, where they're going, what they did, how they did it. Everybody is a veteran that served, and I think that's very important that we all celebrate them as such.
Yeah, for me, I never served in the military service. I did register for the draft, but I don't know what would have happened had it come the time that I got my draft notice. And there were a couple times, like after I quit college, that I thought about signing up, but then I couldn't do it. And then when I was married and we were expecting a baby and I had lost my health insurance and I had a new job and the health insurance wasn't going to be in place, I really got very close to joining the National Guard in like 1982. I went through almost everything, but then it came to the point where actually signing the papers, and I just couldn't do it, which was very interesting for me because my wife Sheila, she doesn't mind it, but she was an Army brat. She grew up in the Army. Her father had a career in the Army also. I believe he was an airborne ranger like you were. So, it was difficult, even the discussions, with her father about that. But to me, Veterans Day, I recall, I grew up as a baby boomer with all the World War II veterans in my family or in my extended family. My mother's cousin was killed over in France during World War II. So, and my aunt, my grandaunt and granduncle were Gold Star mother and fathers, and they dedicated their lives to helping veterans and very active in that. So even though I didn't serve, when it comes to Veterans Day, I think of those loved ones that did participate. And we were all touched by every war. When you speak of Vietnam, everyone was a victim. Everyone was a victim of that war. I worked at the post office with several Vietnam War veterans, and a few of them had been wounded. And, they carried that with them for their whole lives. It was difficult. But even my ancestors are from the Tyrol now it's part of Italy. It used to be part of Austria. But just like they had the Sons of Italy, they had the Tito Lay Society. And the Sons of Italy building is all falling apart down on Melody Lane, but right next to that, just on State Street, there was the Tito Lay Society. It was like a little shack that was similar, But when the Vietnam veterans in North Adams decided to form a veterans organization, the Tito Lay Society let them have that building. And so Mike Shalafu and a bunch of others, they named it Fire Base Trentino because that was that, and then they moved their base to River Street after that thing. So there is that connection with my family ancestry with those Vietnam veterans who really struggled to deal with that war.
Well, I think also it's so important for Veterans Day, and a good thing that we have the parade because, you know, just it's a reflection of the time that you all take to leave to be a part of from your family. It is a sacrifice. So even for those Gold Star families, you know, it's a sacrifice for everyone, and to just be reminded, you know, when I bring my children, I remind them like, these people left their families, didn't matter what you were afraid of or not, you just did your job, and that is a sacrifice, and that is so important for us to you know, so when you do see a veteran, thank them for their service, even if they don't want to be thanked, but just to know that they do matter, because there is a little, sometimes I don't think, but I would imagine if you come home from war, like Vietnam, they weren't treated right, and so you have that stigma. And we say poverty is the enemy, but you know, it's hard to get back in sometimes for people in the military to get back into the swing of it. And I think Veterans Day, to appreciate them is so important.
There are a lot of veterans that live in poverty, but you do things to try to help them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I think too, real quick on that subject is when we talk about military service and veterans, I like to talk about the fact of we need more people to do military service. I think a lot of times people get caught up in that, and I will use my perspective. I grew up in an era where MASH was still a show that people watched, and so I thought the Army was the show MASH, and it's not. And so I think younger kids today, and even parents, they think that their son or daughter is going to go to war. And that's always a possibility. That's just unfortunately the world that we live in. But I think for these younger generations that don't really know what they want to do when they graduate high school and they're in limbo if they want to go to college or they want to go do a trade, go do a couple of years in the military and get your feet on the ground. And then you may love it and then you may stay, or you may hate it and you only do 3 years and you get out. But I promise you that when you get out after 3 years and you go put that resume in, you're going to leapfrog people that don't have that military service on their resume. And so I think it's super important.
That's a really
So when you were a
good
kid growing
perspective.
up, did you always want to be in the military?
I never wanted to be in the military.
Really?
My grandfather he's a World War II era vet. My great-grandfather was a World War I veteran. But outside of that, I wasn't really consistently around military people. And that's another problem that we're having in today's world right now is as the wars thankfully stopped and went away, less and less people were taken into the ranks because we didn't need that many. And so you have a lot of these younger kids right now in high school that don't have family members in the military to hear about the stories. And so they're in the same boat I was. They have no idea what the military is like. But the Army by itself is over 218 jobs. You know, you live in a normal college dorm type situation. You eat regular food. You don't live in the woods. There's a lot of misconceptions. And so I think me knowing what I thought is exactly probably what most of these kids these days think. So
I think so too. And also, you sort of hear what what boot camp would be like, so there's that scary stipulation to it. And
yeah, but
you know.
basic training is one of those situations where you just kind of put your head down and do what you're told, and it's not that bad. The best thing about it is you come out of it understanding how far your body can actually go when you just want to quit. And so it's nice to see. It's nice to know that at your lowest, darkest moment, you were still able to push forward and achieve or accomplish a task that you were given.
Now,
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
Now, the people that you served with, did they come from all different parts of the country, all ethnic backgrounds?
The military in general, more so the Army, obviously, I can speak of, is the most diversified element in the entire world. We joke in the Army because a lot of times in we call it the civilian world, there's a lot of perceptions that people have about whatever it is, certain things, and we all sit, in our tight little circle in the Army just laughing because, the racism or the discrimination, it's just not a thing in the military. Like, we know that for us, when we go to war, that person's probably standing to our left and to our right. And so there's no time to be a racist or whatever the case may be. And so it's the inner workings of the Army are far different. And that's why I'm a firm believer that the military should never be politicized, and it should always be its own entity, because you're taking 18-year-old kids to an Afghanistan environment and expecting to have them fight for their life and bring them home alive. And so when we start putting them on putting them in a group that's being categorized as a Walmart or something, we just can't do it. But getting to what you were asking.
There should be more respect for them, I think, for sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
But to get to your question, we do offer a lot of programs for the individuals that have income needs or financial needs. We have Chapter 115 state benefits, which are an income-based program that only veterans and widows are qualified for. Now, some children, very rare cases, but mostly the veterans and their widows of veterans. That's the biggest group that I have a hard time reaching, are the widows/surviving spouses of veterans who think once their veteran has passed that they no longer qualify for anything, and that's super untrue. They qualify, maybe not for as much, but they still qualify. And so with the Chapter 115, again, if you are in that umbrella where you think financial assistance is something you could use, by all means, stop down to our office at City Hall, and the worst thing you can do is inquire and us to tell you that you make too much money or that you aren't eligible. But I'm sure I can find something else for you.
So you have Tina Sampson works in your office with you.
Correct.
And she helps with that. When you first took over, did you write a letter to every veteran in the area? Or?
Yep, so we sent, so I have 8 municipalities that fall under me, all of northern Berkshire County. And so, yeah, we sent letters and some other informational pieces to, I think it was 2,200 different veterans. I think a lot of times what happens in these positions is we start thinking about the veterans that need services. Well, there's still another 2,000 that don't need services but still need to be acknowledged and told that they matter and they are welcome to all of our events. The more that we can get, the better it is, because there's one of me and there's many of them, so as they're putting word of mouth out there, they're helping me spread the message that'll get to somebody who actually needs that help. So
Are you ever looking for volunteers, like for events and things, or to like have a table to let veterans?
Yeah,
know?
we do currently have volunteers, and we're always open to the idea. Our events we don't do a whole lot of big events. We have a picnic in the summer, and we have our breakfast in December. We're always taking food pantry donations. We do have a food pantry at the City Hall. And in with that is toiletries and clothing. So we're always taking those types of things. People coming down, helping us kind of rearrange our pantry or, get the stuff that may have expired or is getting close to, throw that stuff out. So yeah, if people are interested in volunteering, by all means, come down and we'll find something.
Well, thank you for this time. And I just wanted to mention, for me personally, when it comes to Veterans Day, I can remember a young man that when I was a little kid, I used to be bat boy for Drury High School, and used to go to all the football games. And there was Peter Foote was a star athlete, went to UMass and was an athlete there. Ended up quitting school, and he went to Vietnam. And I remember hearing about his death on the Haskins School playground while I was talking to his cousin Bob Foote, you know, but it had quite an impact to us. It brought home what was going on in Vietnam, and then also with the Gulf War in Afghanistan. My son played Little League Baseball, and Mike DeMarco played Little League Baseball, played on the travel team together. Mike Jr. and Mike Sr. was a coach, and it was quite a shock when we heard about the loss of Michael DeMarco, and it was something when they brought his body home, we tried to do what we could to stand by the family. And then we're coming upon the 1-year anniversary of Mike DeMarco Sr.'s death. And so I just want to remember those families, and I'm sure you know of other families, that have sacrificed men and women, and we have to remember those and remember those families and make sure that they live in dignity, just like all human beings.
Of course.
But I just, want to...
And that is why I feel like it's so important for Veterans Day, and thank you so much for your service.
You're welcome.
And I'll be at the parade, and again, the parade
What are you
is
going to do at the parade?
I'm going to watch the parade. I'm working with Greylock together, hopefully. Cindy Polinsky and I are going to be talking to veterans and just folks on the street, and how, what they're feeling about the country and what they feel about Veterans Day, and I'm looking forward to that. And so that is tomorrow at 10:40, right?
That's when we'll step off. Yeah.
All right.
And they're marching from the American Legion to the Veterans Park.
Correct. And we just put fresh flags up today, so it's looking nice over there.
At the cemeteries?
Veterans Park.
At
Veterans Park.
yeah.
Also, real
Right in the
quick-
middle of town.
Real quick, too, December 15th, excuse me, not December 15th, November 15th, we will be collecting the American flags on the graves of veterans at Southview, and then from there we'll move on to a couple of the smaller ones. So if you'd like to volunteer and help with that, please come out. More the merrier.
Okay.
We'll probably have donuts and coffee.
And where can folks find out information if this goes too fast for them? Where can they find it online about?
So
picking up?
so you can go to the City Hall webpage, or we now have a Facebook page, Northern Berkshire Veteran Services.
Okay.
So please like it, share it, and that I put a lot of information out on that one too.
Perfect.
Well, I probably should help out there, because the only thing I do is when I go out there on Memorial Day and I don't see a flag there, then I go and get a flag. Rather than being, do they have high school students and stuff?
So
Yeah,
the high,
everybody.
the high
They-
school
so many
students will be
people
there
do it.
Friday morning to do their piece of it, and then Saturday will be the gathering at the Peter Foote skating rink.
Wow.
And dress warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Curtis, for being with us today and helping us honor the veterans, and thank you for your service. And thank you to all you veterans out there for your service. And we just, hope that we can have a more peaceful world.
Yeah. And happy Veterans Day.
Power to the people.
Mistakes of the bosses we must pay for. From the cities and the farmlands to trenches full of mud. War has always been the bosses' way, sir. The Union forever defending our rights. Down with the black leg, all workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters in many far off lands. There is power in a union. Now I long for the morning that they realise brutality and unjust laws cannot defeat us. But who'll defend the workers who cannot organise? And the bosses send their lackeys out to cheat us.